Okay, what is this? Hampton Gardens? Hampton Gardens, near the Palace. And we're just walking in the gardens. We're not allowed in the Palace. It'll take up too much time. So that's like kind of one of the entrances. But we're going on the outskirts, and then we have to come back around to the Lion's Gate is our meetup place. This way I know exactly where the meetup place is. I won't get lost like I did at the Tower of London's. I haven't told that story yet, so let me tell it. I had a meetup place, I forgot where it was. And I was just running around. I was filming that play that they did, and then couldn't find the guy and couldn't find the meetup place. Started walking where I thought it was, and then couldn't see the group because the group was already on the bus. So I went to the police officer or the fireman and asked them, can I get in touch with a tour guide somehow? They don't give you their phone number. That's one thing they should do. So as soon as I said that to the guy, the tour director was looking for me, bumped into me, recognized my eggs mixed bag hat, and then we went on. I said, oh good, I'm going to follow that man. Got back to the bus. It was only a matter of like keeping people 5 minutes. He came right out of the parking garage tunnel and found me. So I was smart enough to go near an exit where I knew he'd be. But I got to pay more attention to the meetup places for sure. Now we're coming to the front of the gardens. You can see the wonderful statues. I'm doing video. You want to get a shot of me? It's still running. And no zoom, no nothing. Hey. That's the lion in the middle there.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's the gentleman that just helped film that. Thank you. Thank you for turning around. You gotta be on camera sometime, right?
Yeah.
Wow. This is, yeah. I see the only person with an umbrella is the tour guide.
Yeah.
Because he comes prepared. Car park. Hampton Court Palace is what it's called. Hampton Court Palace, and there is the palace, in the way down deep there. So I'll take some more video when I get closer. Okay, we are recording. Make sure, yes. We're in the gray, rainy morning. This is South Hampton Palace, and it looks like there's some scaffolding in the front of it. But you can still get a glimpse of what it is.
Okay, so gather around everyone, please.
Gather round. Here we go.
I wasn't able to do anything about the scaffolding at the front. You're going to have to use Photoshop on your photos to get rid of it. That's the main gateway there. So this is Hampton Court Palace. This is the western front, and this is the oldest part of it. Now, is everyone clear about the difference between a palace and a castle? No. Right, well, a palace was a royal residence. A castle was also at times a royal residence. The castle was built for defence. So castles have always got great big walls, battlements. You know, they were built because they expected attack. Whereas palaces didn't. Palaces were built just as sumptuous. You know, they're very luxurious. They were just purely royal residences. So this was a royal residence, as I mentioned, on the coast between the early 16th century. It was in 1526 that Cardinal Wolsey, who bought it here. There was a convent here earlier, a small building, and he enlarged it to this state here. And he brought in these craftsmen from Italy, and the bricks were all from Italy. So these were the finest materials and the finest craftsmanship that money could buy. And he enlarged it to this very big area here, and then he gifted it to the king. Now he fell out of favour, Wolsey, later in life, which was unfortunate because he lost the whole thing, and the king just took the palace for it, for his own, and as a royal residence. These chimneys, you see, are very, very typical of the Tudor styles. You see every single one got a different sort of pattern, where the brickwork, very fine work indeed. So this is no longer the home of the monarch. I mean, the Queen maybe comes here sometimes, but the only people that live here are custodians. And people say, well, who runs it? Well, there's a special agency called the Crown Historic Buildings Agency, that take care of the upkeep of this and other royal palaces. And of course, the payment is us taxpayers. We pay money. Each year, the Queen gets, or the royal family gets, it's about £9 million on the civil list. It's voted in every year in Parliament, and part of that civil list money is what goes to upkeep these palaces. Because obviously it's all open inside. If you had more time, you could visit inside. There's all sorts of stuff to see in there. Moving on from Henry VIII, in King James I's reign, this was where the committee sat that composed the revised version of the Bible. You know, the King James authorised version. Yes, some people say the most beautiful work of English literature. That was actually here that it was composed.
Wow.
That above your heads, that little squawky bird, is a green parakeet. It has no business being in this country, but we have colonies of them. Somehow we have film studios out in the west of London here, and the story is, you know, the African Queen, that old movie, they filmed it, some of it in Elstree or Twickenham Studios, and they brought these parrots and parakeets in. Some of them escaped, and they're the descendants of those. But we have them in London, these squawky birds, but they're not native birds. Over here, the long building that you walked up past, that used to be the barracks for the soldiers. Now they are this kind of educational rooms and things in there. They were, at one point, grace and favour apartments. These were apartments they gave to people, old people retiring in service of the Crown. You know, the Queen's chambermaids and the ladies in waiting and so on. They had a right to grace and favour apartments. I mean, they deserved it really. They got paid so little I mean, it's still a royal family. They're not subject to any employment laws, so the Queen can pay her staff as much as she wants. And it's not that much, I can assure you. It's supposed to be the honour of doing it. But in the early days, the King wouldn't have come like we did on the road there. They'd have come by river. The Thames is right next to you here. They'd have come by royal barge. And he'd have come here. This was one of 3 or 4 palaces that he used regularly. There was one at Richmond, this totally disappeared. There's Whitehall Palace in London. And they rotated. Because he'd come down with about 1,000 people, all his staff. Everybody had to be housed and lodged in here. And if they were here for about 3 months, now let me just say, before mains plumbing, okay, there were no bathrooms. If you go in there and go around, there's just one room with a big hole in it that everybody had to use for... Anyway, I won't go any further. Alright, so there's a big ditch here. Now this is not a moat that holds water. This was where all the rubbish, you know, if I can speak euphemistically, used to end up. So within 3 months it absolutely stunk.
Wow.
They had to move, you know, it was just too dirty. So they move on to another place, and this would be allowed to kind of revive until for the next visit. And what we're going to see now when we move out and go to the gardens, I mean, there's gardens all around, there's the wilderness and the maze over there, but the gardens we're going to visit were the special gardens, which were just for the King and for privileged members of the court, or ministers to come to, or foreign guests and dignitaries, the privy gardens. So let's go around now. First of all, we're going to see the Great Vine, and then you're going to go past a couple of small enclosed gardens, and we come to